The Weekly starts now.
My guest today is Scott Sedam, owner and president of True North Development, a home building consulting, training, and organizational development firm. Welcome, Scott.
Nice to be here.
In the November-December issue of Pro Builder, you wrote an article about the impact of technology on home building. In it, you mentioned that there have been all kinds of technological advances in products and process in home building. Can you give us some examples?
Well, certainly in the software arena comes to mind. That's been going on for a couple of decades now and increasing all the time. And there seems like a new package comes out. But software that is designed to, I guess I'll say, designed to take care of all the back office, take care of scheduling, service calls, and now, of course, selections. Option selections, even to design a house. And if you go back, the first one I remember more than 20 years ago would have been the FAST system. That's at least 25 years ago, maybe more. But there is a huge number of those out there. And then the ones that are maybe a little more near and dear to my heart, being an old manufacturing guy years ago, are the advances in construction technology. You know, we started with the one that's out there substantially, trusses. That, people don't even think of trusses being that much as applied manufacturing technology, but they certainly are. Although there are still plenty of places in the country where homes are stick built. Panels is a really interesting one. We were looking at different ways to do panels 30 years ago. And actually, panels were being done after the end of World War II, and people thought that would run everything. I grew up in a house, and part of my life growing up through junior high and high school, that was a national home. It was built in Lafayette, Indiana, and came in on a truck, and they put it all together in about 2 days. Huh. So there's that end of it. And then there's a much more sophisticated things that are going on, Katera and Tekra. I said that wrong. Those two names are too close. And there's been a lot of them over the years. One of the most incredible ones is actually up in Edmonton with Landmark Homes. And where they're building the entire houses and getting them put together and taking them out to site and assembling them extremely quickly. And, everything laser guided and even CNC equipment. And then you're seeing the more radical stuff like this outfit out in LA now who's doing these modules that really the center module includes bath, kitchen, on the backside, all the mechanicals in a module, and they set it in place and then build all the elements of the house off that. And some people are excited about things like that. But I guess we can talk more about what's actually happened with all that technology in a minute.
Right. Yeah. As you mentioned in the story, other industries have shown enormous increases in productivity with these kinds of advances, but it appears that builders' frame start to final schedules, for example, have increased from an average of around 90 days to upwards of 150 days.
I'll say that if you go back before the big crash 10, 12 years ago, the strong builders were averaging 90 days. I would say nationwide, it was probably more like 120 in that range, but there were plenty doing 90, and there were those that were doing 60, and the amazing ones like Devasta that were in the 40s. And but today it's a rare builder that can honestly claim 120 days. And what we're seeing is 150, 180. It is not unusual for us to see 8 months, 9 months out there. So you're looking at 250 days, 270 days. We're seeing that a lot.
So why is this, with all this technology that's available? Why are we not seeing those same kinds of results in home building?
Well, if you look at the January article I wrote, and then there's another one that I'm working on, just about ready to turn in. And after I wrote that, the amount of letters I got from people was amazing, because I asked people to tell me why they think it's happening. And there are a lot of factors. Some of them I think you kind of have to dismiss. For example, people always want to say it's like culture and it's attitude. And, the thing about that is all these other industries who have adopted these advanced methodologies. I mean, if you look what's happened in automotive, it's no comparison to 20 or 30 years ago. Even in healthcare, absolutely no comparison. And things like banking, insurance, mundane businesses like that have made incredible advances through the application of technology. And all the statistics say, no matter who's measuring it, that we have not improved in overall productivity in our industry really since World War II, which is mind-boggling when you think of it. So people will cite culture, but everybody's got the culture problem. So it's more than that. A lot of people will talk about the supplier and trade setup where, builders don't build homes. They finance them, they manage them, they put all the systems, process, procedures in place and make it happen, but they don't actually do the building. So the average builder will have anywhere from 25 sometimes to 35, 40 or more suppliers and trades. And how do you harness all these people and get them to follow a system? Now, what's made it even more difficult than it was 10, 12 years ago is because now there are so many software packages. We had a lumber dealer come in Houston in one of our week-long lean sessions, and he came in for his hour session, and he said one of the biggest problems he has right now is he has to interface with 12 different software packages. He says builders never think of that. 12 different software packages. He says he's carrying another full-time person more than he should. He has 4 people trained on 4 of them. So they always have a backup if someone's sick or something. And they can't have anybody who knows even 6 of them. He said it's just too much to keep track of because there are a lot of similarities, but they do things different ways. And then one of the letters that you'll see for the January column that'll be out here real shortly is a guy who wrote me a letter saying, and this was a huge HVAC contractor somewhere in the South, okay? And he wrote and said they're interfacing with one particular software package. They have 21 different builders that use it, and they're all using it in different ways. So the fact that, they got 21 builders use this one package. It's the most of any of the packages he has to interface with. But even with that one package, everybody's doing things differently. And I know that company, that software company, and they're in complete denial about that. And by the way, they've got a good package. I mean, it does really good stuff. But they aren't getting the builders to all consistently apply it, and it's making the suppliers and trades crazy. So you know what's really going on? Everybody still, virtually everyone, still has their paper pencil schedules that they're keeping track of what's really going on. And the biggest indicator, if anybody doesn't believe what I'm saying, I ask this of every group of trades I have, and in our lean sessions, we'll typically have 50 to 80 people there. 25 to 30 trades represented. And before COVID, I would do sessions where I'd have 200 and 300 trades in a room. And I'd ask them to be brutally honest, how many of you have what we call a scout, that someone performs a scout role, where despite what the builder schedule says online, despite what you've heard from the superintendent or field supervisor builder calling you, you have one of your people check that site the day before your people are supposed to be there. We get 95% have scouts. Okay. When I was doing National Housing Quality Award judging this year, one of the companies I reviewed, I had their group of trades and I asked them that. They all raised their hands. And one guy said, and he was from the window and door company supplier. And he said, but I got to say something. I said, what's that? He said, there is one builder in town, only one. This is a big city that we don't have to scout. What they give me is as good as gold. If they say it's ready every time. And I don't have to scout them. And I said, and because of that, I am able to price them better. because not only do I have to scout them, I know I will never have to change out a window. It's always right. He says, another thing they do, they invite me in every new plan they have to really go through the windows with their guys and make sure they're sized right appropriately to make them efficient. He went through all the things that we dream about, all the things that I was taught seriously over 30 years ago. The guys like Mike Rhodes and Gary Grant and Bill Pulte 30 years ago, as far as I knew, that's what everybody did. And here we are 30 years later trying to get people to do it. And the builders are largely unaware that that's what's going on. And you've heard me say this before, but when 30 years ago, working for Mike Rhodes, who I talked to for about an hour yesterday, he's been long since retired, but I check in with him every few months. And he jokes about, you're still trying to get people to make sure their schedules are right. That schedule was always good as gold 60 days in advance. Now people can't fathom that now. So it's just stunning that we have all this technology, but it's not being applied. It's not being used. And it's on the builders. It's on suppliers and trades to some degree, but it's also on the providers of the software and the technology, because they aren't training well enough. And they'll say, well, the builders won't let us train. Well, if they won't let you train, you shouldn't sell it to them. They have to be trained more thoroughly. And then with the manufacturing technology, there's a lot of issues there. But the biggest one that I see is that people just don't know how to truly measure the true total installed cost of everything it takes to go in and build a house. When you learn how to measure that right, it pushes it toward technology in a heartbeat. But people still don't know how to measure it well. They're missing 50% of it. We're trying to educate people on it. I wrote a few articles about that about a year ago. But until people learn to measure that true total cost and understand that, it would actually save them money and make them more profitable, we are not going to see the implementation of this, what is truly fabulous technology.
Well, those are some broad ways that they need to improve in order to get things going right, and at least cut out some of those days from their schedules. But what else can they do? What are some things that they can start doing if they want to get results they're looking for from technology?
Well, I think the most obvious thing, the training that I mentioned, you've got to really train on it thoroughly, not surface. And also the senior management has to be trained on it. They just can't, we get it, we understand. No, they need training on it too. But the measurement issue, to really understand what the true total cost, the way they're doing it. But we quickly get over to, you have to have a really strong and stable trade base and a supplier base. Now, people will say it's so much harder now than it was. And it's true, it was. However, we know it's on a long list, but I could send you to 8 or 10 companies who don't have any problems. And some of the National Housing Quality Award winners have talked about that don't have problems getting and keeping and maintaining a stable trade base. And they don't fight the trade shortage all the time. So there is a shortage out there, but there is also a greater shortage of truly great builders. So if you're a truly great builder who does things right, you're not going to have a problem getting the solid trades you need. And it's not just the trades themselves, it's their best crews. So we're going to have, our own people have to be the best and well-trained, but those crews and our suppliers and trades have to learn our systems and contribute and be part of that. And you won't get that if you're changing them over all the time and rolling.
That's really great advice, Scott. Appreciate that. And I encourage everyone who's looking at this to read both of these stories, maybe 3 or 4 that you've mentioned.
There's 3. You never want me to do more than 2, really. And I sometimes can sneak a third one in. This one, I'll probably do, if we have another internet one, I'll probably sneak in a whole nother one with attached to the internet one, which I know that's okay to do, because there's just so much here. The letters I've gotten have just blown my mind. Amazing.
I'd like to publish some of those too, if that would work, if we can get permission and get those out there, because I know that builders learn very well from other builders. So it would be helpful to do that. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, Scott.
Always enjoy it. Thanks very much.